I found my mother locked in her nursing home room. Her caregiver had been stealing her savings for 2 years. I moved her out. The next morning, I walked into the director's office, and when he tried to explain, I showed him something he'll never forget. The deadbolt was on the outside of the door. That was the first thing I noticed walking down the hallway of Sunrise Meadows Assisted Living at 7:43 on a Thursday morning, 3 hours before visiting hours officially began. I had flown in from Seattle on the red-eye. My mother had missed our 4th scheduled video call in 2 weeks. The front desk was suspiciously empty when I arrived. The deadbolt was industrial grade, the kind you would see on a storage unit or a commercial freezer, not on the door of a room housing an 81-year-old woman with early-stage dementia. My hand was already reaching for it before my brain processed what I was seeing. The metal was cold under my fingers. I slid it back. That heavy mechanical thunk would haunt me for months. I pushed the door open, found my mother sitting on the edge of her bed in a soiled nightgown, silver hair matted to one side of her head, staring at a television that was not turned on. The room smelled like urine and something else, something sweet and rotten. I would later learn it was a bed sore on her lower back, untreated for at least 3 weeks. She looked up at me with eyes that took too long to focus. When she finally recognized me, she started crying without making any sound at all. I had been living in Seattle for 11 years, civil engineer, designed bridges and overpasses throughout the Pacific Northwest. My father passed in 2019, heart attack without warning, left my mother alone in the house where they raised me and my sister. For 2 years, she managed on her own, help from neighbors, weekly visits from my sister Diane. Then the call came. Mom found wandering the neighborhood at 3 a.m. in her bathrobe, unable to remember her own address. The diagnosis came a month later. Early onset Alzheimer's, progressing faster than typical. Diane and I spent 6 weeks researching facilities, visiting locations, reading reviews, comparing costs. Sunrise Meadows had a 4.2 star rating online, beautiful campus, manicured gardens, specialized memory care unit, round-the-clock supervision. Monthly cost was $6,400. We planned to cover it using my mother's savings, her pension from 30 years as a public school teacher, the proceeds from selling her house. The director was a man named Franklin Reeves, silver temples, firm handshake, navy blazer with the facility's logo. He introduced us to my mother's primary attendant, a woman named Denise Hartwell, late 30s, kind smile, 15 years of experience in elder care. She held my mother's hand during the introduction, spoke in a gentle voice that made my mother smile. I flew back to Seattle 3 days later, confident I had done the right thing. The first red flag appeared 4 months in. My mother mentioned her jewelry box was missing. The small rosewood case that belonged to her grandmother contained her wedding ring, my grandmother's costume jewelry, a pearl necklace from my father. Franklin Reeves himself called me back within the hour, explained that residents with memory issues sometimes misplaced items. A week later, he reported the jewelry box had been found in her closet behind some winter clothes. I accepted the explanation, wanted to believe the people caring for her were trustworthy. 8 months in, my mother started mentioning money. I need to pay Denise. Denise needs money for my medicine. I assumed she was confused, conflating past memories with present. When I asked the staff, they assured me my mother became fixated on financial matters. They redirected her gently. I did not think to check her bank accounts. My sister Diane expressed concerns, said Mom seemed thinner. Her room looked messier than it should. I told Diane she was being paranoid, that the facility had excellent reviews. We needed to trust the professionals. In March of 2024, I received a call from the facility's billing department. My mother's account was 3 months behind on payments. I was stunned. I had set up automatic payments from her checking account 2 years earlier, the same account that received her pension deposits, held the proceeds from her house sale. When I logged into her bank account online, what I found made my hands go numb. The account that should have held roughly $280,000 had a balance of $4,127. 2 years of pension deposits totaling $62,000 gone. The home sale proceeds $267,000 gone. I scrolled through the transaction history, heart pounding in my ears, money disappearing in chunks. $3,000 here, $5,500 there. Wire transfers to accounts I didn't recognize, cash withdrawals from ATMs I'd never heard of, checks written to names that meant nothing to me. Some transactions were small, under $200, easily overlooked. Others were massive, $15,000 or more, transferred to accounts that I would later trace back to a single name. I booked a red-eye flight that night, moved my mother out of Sunrise Meadows within 48 hours, and the next morning, I walked into Franklin Reeves' office with a folder I had prepared. He started to explain, started to make excuses. Then I opened the folder and laid everything on his desk. The color drained from his face before he finished reading the first page. Full story is linked below or on my channel.